Davis, wait, sir. You can't leave me like this.
Who's he? He's the maid.
Behind the wholesome facade of this beloved 1960s sitcom lurked a world of bizarre filming schedules, tragic real-life injuries written into scripts, and a production so chaotic that actors were often filming 4 different episodes simultaneously. From a butler's secret wrist surgery to a child star who had to be perpetually frozen in time, Family Affair's behind-the-scenes reality was far stranger than its picture-perfect on-screen world. Here are 15 weird facts you didn't know about Family Affair. Fact 1. The bizarre 4-episode filming method. Family Affair had one of the most unusual filming schedules in television history, with the cast and crew regularly working on 4 different episodes at the same time. This bizarre arrangement wasn't by choice, but became necessary because of strict child labor laws that limited how many hours young actors could work each day. The show starred 2 child actors, Johnny Whitaker and Anissa Jones, who played the 6-year-old twins, Jody and Buffy. California labor laws in the 1960s restricted children under 16 to just 8 hours of work per day on film sets. Since these young performers were essential to nearly every scene in Family Affair, the production team had to get creative with their scheduling to make sure they could still film enough content for a full television season. The solution was to film all scenes involving the children first, before their 8-hour limit was reached. But this created a domino effect that turned the entire production into a logistical puzzle. While Johnny and Anissa were filming their scenes for 1 episode, the adult actors like Brian Keith and Sebastian Cabot would be working on completely different episodes that didn't require the children. Sometimes Kathy Garver, who played teenage Sissy, would be filming scenes for a 3rd episode, while the crew prepared sets and props for yet a 4th episode. This meant that on any given day at the studio, multiple episodes were being filmed simultaneously across different sound stages and sets. Directors had to keep track of which scenes belonged to which episode, while actors had to remember storylines for several different shows they were working on at once. The costume and makeup departments faced the challenge of keeping continuity across episodes that were being filmed weeks or even months apart. This unconventional method worked, but it created a production environment unlike anything else on television at the time. Fact 2. Glenn Ford's missed opportunity. Before Brian Keith became the beloved Uncle Bill Davis, the starring role in Family Affair was actually offered to another major Hollywood actor who turned it down. Glenn Ford, who was already a well-established movie star in the 1960s, was the first choice of producers Don Fedderson and Edmund Hartman to play the bachelor engineer who suddenly finds himself raising 3 orphaned children. Ford had built his reputation as a leading man in westerns and dramas throughout the 1940s and 50s, appearing in classics like Gilda and The Big Heat. By the time Family Affair was being developed in 1966, he was considered one of Hollywood's most reliable stars, which made him an attractive choice for a television series that needed to compete with other family shows of the era. However, Ford declined the offer, possibly because television work was still considered less prestigious than movie roles during that time period. Many film actors in the 1960s viewed television as a step down from their movie careers, and Ford may have felt that committing to a weekly series would limit his opportunities in feature films. When Ford passed on the role, the producers turned to Brian Keith, who had been working steadily in both movies and television, but hadn't yet found the part that would define his career. Keith accepted the role and made it completely his own, bringing a warm but gruff charm to Uncle Bill that perfectly balanced the show's family dynamics. The character became so associated with Keith that it's hard to imagine anyone else in the role. Ford's decision to turn down Family Affair meant he missed out on what became one of the most popular family sitcoms of the late 1960s. The show ran for 5 successful seasons and turned Brian Keith into a household name, while Ford continued making movies, but never found a television role that brought him the same level of recognition. Fact 3. Sissy's last-minute casting crisis. Kathy Garver almost never became the beloved teenage sister Sissy on Family Affair because she was literally a last-minute replacement for another actress who had already been cast in the role. The original casting crisis happened right in the middle of filming the pilot episode, creating a situation that could have derailed the entire show before it even got started. The producers had already selected and hired another actress to play Catherine Sissy Davis, the 15-year-old older sister who would help care for the younger twins, Buffy and Jody. Everything seemed to be going according to plan until this original actress took a trip to Europe before filming was scheduled to begin. During her European vacation, she gained 15 pounds, which was considered too significant a change for the character the producers had envisioned. When the actress returned from her trip, the producers made the difficult decision that she no longer fit their vision for Sissy. Rather than trying to work around the weight gain or delaying production, they chose to recast the role entirely. This decision came at an extremely inconvenient time since they were already in the middle of shooting the pilot episode and needed to find a replacement immediately. Kathy Garver, who was 20 years old at the time but had a youthful appearance that allowed her to convincingly play a teenager, was brought in to audition for the role. Her previous experience working with Brian Keith on his earlier series Crusader helped her land the part quickly. The producers were impressed enough with her screen test that they hired her on the spot, even though filming was already underway. Remarkably, no scenes had been filmed with the original actress before she was replaced, which meant the production team didn't have to reshoot any footage or deal with continuity issues. Garver stepped into the role seamlessly and went on to play Sissy for all 5 seasons of the show. Fact 4. The secret butler surgery switcheroo. When Sebastian Cabot, who played the beloved English butler Mr. Giles French, needed wrist surgery during the show's first season, the producers faced a major problem that required creative storytelling to solve. Rather than halt production or try to film around Cabot's absence, the writers came up with an ingenious solution that introduced viewers to a completely new character who happened to be Mr. French's brother. Cabot had developed a serious wrist injury that required surgical treatment and a lengthy recovery period, which meant he would be unable to perform his duties on the show for several months. Since Mr. French was such an integral part of Family Affair's core family dynamic, simply writing him out temporarily would have been jarring for viewers who had grown attached to his relationship with Uncle Bill and the children. The writers decided to create Nigel French, nicknamed Niles, who was introduced as Giles French's brother. To explain why this brother had never been mentioned before and why he was suddenly available to help the Davis family, the show explained that Giles had been called away to serve the Queen of England during her tour of Commonwealth countries. This gave his character a dignified and believable reason for his temporary absence while staying true to his proper English background. Veteran British actor John Williams was brought in to play Niles French, and he appeared in 9 consecutive episodes during 1967 while Cabot recovered from his surgery. Williams, who had extensive experience in both film and television, brought his own interpretation to the role while maintaining the same level of professionalism and care for the children that viewers expected from the French family. When Cabot was ready to return to the show, Niles French simply departed, and Giles resumed his duties as if nothing had happened. The transition was handled so smoothly that many viewers didn't realize they had been watching a completely different actor playing a different character for nearly a quarter of the season. Fact 5. Real injury becomes TV drama. When Anissa Jones, who played 6-year-old Buffy Davis, broke her leg in a real playground accident during 1969, the Family Affair writers turned her genuine injury into television drama by incorporating it directly into the show's storyline. This unexpected event forced the production team to completely rewrite an upcoming episode in record time to accommodate Jones's actual medical condition. The young actress was playing at a playground when she suffered a fracture to her right leg that required her to wear a cast for several weeks. Since Buffy appeared in nearly every scene of Family Affair and was one of the show's main characters, the producers couldn't simply write her out of episodes while she recovered. Instead, they made the creative decision to have Buffy break her leg on the show as well, mirroring what had happened to Jones in real life. The writing team had to work incredibly fast to create a new script that would explain Buffy's injury and make it part of the story. They managed to write the entire episode in just one day, which was remarkable considering that television scripts typically took much longer to develop and polish. The episode they created was called What's Funny About a Broken Leg, and it aired during the show's 4th season. In the episode, Buffy breaks her leg while playing stickball with friends, and Uncle Bill feels terrible that she'll miss going to the circus because of her injury. To cheer her up, Uncle Bill arranges to bring circus performers directly to their apartment building, creating a memorable episode that turned a real-life accident into heartwarming family television. The writers even included the challenge of getting an elephant up to the apartment, adding humor to what could have been a sad situation. This quick thinking by the production team allowed filming to continue without major delays, while giving viewers a touching story about family love and support during difficult times. Fact 6. Brian Keith's secret ownership stake. Brian Keith had a much deeper connection to Family Affair than most viewers realized, because he wasn't just the star of the show, but also held part ownership of the entire production. This business arrangement made Keith both an employee and a boss, giving him significant control over creative decisions and a financial stake in the show's success that went far beyond his acting salary. During the 1960s, it was relatively uncommon for television actors to negotiate ownership deals as part of their contracts. Most performers were simply hired as employees who received a weekly paycheck for their work, while producers and studios kept all the profits from syndication, merchandising, and international sales. Keith's ownership stake represented a more sophisticated understanding of how television profits worked and positioned him to benefit from the show's long-term success. This ownership arrangement likely gave Keith considerable influence over how Family Affair was produced and the direction of storylines, since he had a financial interest in making sure the show remained popular with audiences. It also meant that when Family Affair became a hit and generated revenue from reruns, toy sales, and international broadcasting deals, Keith received a portion of those profits in addition to his regular acting fees. The exact percentage of Keith's ownership stake has never been publicly disclosed, but having any ownership at all was a significant achievement for a television actor at that time. This deal demonstrated that Keith and his representatives understood the potential value of a successful family sitcom, especially one that could appeal to children and generate merchandise sales like the popular Mrs. Beasley doll. Keith's dual role as star and owner may have contributed to his commitment to the show and helped explain why Family Affair maintained consistent quality throughout its 5-season run, since he had both creative and financial reasons to ensure its continued success. Fact 7. The Ageless Buffy Dilemma. Producer Don Fedderson made a bizarre decision that created serious problems for young actress Anissa Jones throughout Family Affair's 5-year run. He insisted that the character of Buffy Davis must remain exactly 6 years old for the entire series, even though Jones herself was growing from a child into a teenager during those years. This meant that as Jones naturally developed and matured, she was forced to take increasingly drastic measures to maintain the appearance of a 6-year-old child. When Family Affair began in 1966, Jones was 8 years old but small for her age, which made it believable for her to play 6-year-old Buffy. However, as the show continued for 5 seasons, Jones grew taller and began developing the physical changes that come with adolescence. By the time the series ended in 1971, she was 13 years old, but still expected to portray the same 6-year-old character. To maintain this illusion, Jones was required to bind her chest during filming and promotional appearances to hide any signs of physical development. The wardrobe department also had to carefully select clothing that would make her appear younger and smaller than she actually was. During public appearances and promotional events, she was still expected to carry around the Mrs. Beasley doll that had become Buffy's trademark, even though she was now a teenager who had long outgrown playing with dolls. This treatment was considered dehumanizing by many who worked with Jones, and it likely contributed to her feeling trapped by the character that had made her famous. At an age when most teenagers are trying to establish their own identity and independence, Jones was forced to pretend she was still a little girl, both on camera and in public. The psychological pressure of maintaining this facade for years while dealing with the normal challenges of growing up created significant stress for the young actress. Fact 8. The shared TV universe secret. Family Affair existed in the same fictional television universe as two other popular family sitcoms of the era, My Three Sons and To Rome with Love, creating an interconnected world that most viewers never realized was happening. All three shows were produced by the same company, Don Feddersen Productions, which allowed the creators to establish connections between the series and even have characters cross over from one show to another. The most obvious evidence of this shared universe came through actual crossover episodes on To Rome with Love, a short-lived sitcom about a widowed professor who moves his three daughters to Rome. During the show's second season in 1970, viewers were surprised to see familiar faces from Family Affair appear as guests. In an episode called Roman Affair, the characters Buffy and Jody, played by Anissa Jones and Johnny Whitaker, visited Rome along with their butler, Mr. French, played by Sebastian Cabot. 2 episodes later, characters from My Three Sons also made their way to Rome in an episode called Rome is Where You Find It. This crossover featured Uncle Charlie, played by William Demarest, along with Robbie Douglas and Katie Douglas, played by Don Grady and Tina Cole. These weren't just cameo appearances, but full storylines that integrated the visiting characters into the show's plot. The shared universe concept was made possible because producer Don Feddersen had created a formula for family-oriented sitcoms that worked across all 3 shows. Each series featured a single male guardian raising children with help from an older male caretaker figure, whether it was Uncle Bill and Mr. French, Steve Douglas and Uncle Charlie, or Professor Endicott and his father-in-law, Andy Pruitt. While My Three Sons and Family Affair never had direct crossovers with each other, the fact that both shows' characters could visit the same fictional Rome established that they all existed in the same television world. Fact 9. The 20-year-old teenager. Kathy Garver was actually 20 years old when she began playing 15-year-old Sissy Davis on Family Affair, making her significantly older than the character she portrayed throughout the show's entire 5-season run. This age difference meant that Garver was portraying a high school student while she herself was already a college-aged adult. But her youthful appearance made this casting choice work perfectly for the show. Garver had what many people called a baby face, with naturally youthful features that allowed her to convincingly play someone 5 years younger than her actual age. At 5 feet 1 inch tall with a petite build, she could easily pass for a teenager, even though she was technically an adult when filming began in 1966. This physical advantage meant that the show didn't have to worry about her aging out of the role as the series continued, unlike what happened with some other child actors on television at the time. The casting choice also had practical benefits for the production team, since Garver was legally an adult and wasn't subject to the same child labor restrictions that limited how many hours Johnny Whitaker and Anissa Jones could work each day. This meant she could film longer scenes and work more flexible hours without the complicated scheduling issues that came with employing actual minors on a television set. Garver had already been working as an actress for several years before landing the role of Sissy, having appeared in films like The 10 Commandments when she was just a child. By the time she was cast in Family Affair, she was studying at UCLA and had enough acting experience to handle the demands of a regular television series. Her maturity as an adult also helped her serve as something of a mentor to the younger actors on the set, even though her character was supposed to be closer to their age than to the adult characters. Fact 10. The twins who weren't twins. Jodie and Buffy Davis weren't originally conceived as twins when Family Affair was first being developed, but the producers made a major change to their characters after seeing how well the two young actors worked together during screen tests. The original premise called for a 6-year-old girl and a 10-year-old boy, which would have created a 4-year age gap between the two youngest characters in the Davis family. When Brian Keith was signed to play Uncle Bill, he specifically requested that Johnny Whitaker be given a chance to audition for the show. Keith had worked with Whitaker in the movie The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming, and was impressed by the young actor's natural talent and professionalism. Keith felt that Whitaker would be perfect for Family Affair, even if it was just for a guest appearance rather than a regular role. Anissa Jones had already been cast as the 6-year-old Buffy when Whitaker came in to test for the part of the older boy. However, during their screen tests together, the producers noticed something unexpected. Despite the fact that Whitaker was actually 3 years younger than Jones in real life, the two children had an exceptional on-screen chemistry that made them seem like they belonged together as a matched pair. The visual connection between Jones and Whitaker was so strong that the producers decided to completely rewrite both characters to make them 6-year-old twins instead of siblings of different ages. This meant throwing out storylines that had been planned around the age difference and creating new scripts that would take advantage of their natural bond as screen siblings. The decision to make Jodie and Buffy twins turned out to be one of the best creative choices the show made, since their relationship became one of Family Affair's most appealing elements and helped establish the close-knit family dynamic that made the series so popular with audiences. Fact 11. The 30-day actor schedule. Brian Keith worked on Family Affair using a revolutionary filming schedule that allowed him to complete all his scenes for an entire television season in just 60 days, split into 2 separate 30-day blocks of intensive filming. This unusual arrangement, which became known as the McMurray system after actor Fred McMurray, who pioneered it on My Three Sons, gave Keith the freedom to pursue movie roles while still starring in a weekly television series. The system worked by having all the scripts for the entire season completed before filming began, which was unusual for television production at that time. Most shows wrote and filmed episodes throughout the year as the season progressed, but Family Affair had to plan everything in advance to accommodate Keith's compressed schedule. During his 2 30-day filming periods, Keith would shoot all his scenes for every episode of the season, often jumping between multiple storylines and episodes in a single day. While Keith was filming his scenes, the rest of the cast would continue working on episodes that didn't require his presence. Kathy Garver, Johnny Whitaker, Anissa Jones, and Sebastian Cabot would film scenes around Keith's absence, with scripts carefully written to include plenty of storylines that focused on the children and Mr. French, without Uncle Bill being present. This meant that when Keith finished his 60 days of work, the other actors still had months of filming ahead of them. This scheduling system enabled Keith to maintain his movie career while committing to a television series, which was important because many film actors in the 1960s still viewed television work as less prestigious than motion pictures. The arrangement allowed Keith to have the best of both worlds, earning steady income from Family Affair while still being available for feature film roles during the months when he wasn't needed on the television set. Fact 12. The Producer's Son romance. A real-life romance developed between 2 cast members of Family Affair that created an interesting situation where the producer's son was dating one of the show's stars. Greg Federson, who was the son of executive producer Don Federson, played Greg Bartlett, the recurring character who served as Sissy's boyfriend throughout most of the series from seasons 2 through 5. While Greg Federson was working on the show as an actor, he began a romantic relationship with Kathy Garver, who played his on-screen girlfriend, Sissy Davis. This meant that their chemistry as a couple wasn't just acting but reflected a genuine attraction that had developed between them during filming. The relationship blurred the lines between their professional work and personal lives, since they were portraying boyfriend and girlfriend characters while actually dating in real life. The situation created a unique dynamic on the Family Affair set, since Greg's father, Don, was not only the executive producer, but also one of the creators of the show. This meant that Kathy Garver was dating the boss's son while working as one of the main stars of his television series. The arrangement could have led to complications or awkward situations, but it seems to have worked out smoothly for everyone involved during the show's production. Having the producer's son as part of the cast also gave the character of Greg Bartlett more stability and screen time than many recurring teenage characters received on other shows of that era. Since Greg Federson had a direct family connection to the production, his character appeared consistently throughout multiple seasons rather than being written out after a few episodes, like many teenage love interests on family sitcoms. The real-life romance added an extra layer of authenticity to the scenes between Sissy and her boyfriend, since the actors genuinely cared about each other beyond their professional relationship as co-workers on the show. Fact 13. The single director season strategy. Family Affair used an extremely unusual approach to directing that was almost unheard of in television production during the 1960s. Each season of the show had only one director who was responsible for filming all 30 or so episodes, rather than rotating different directors throughout the year like most other television series did at that time. This single director approach was a direct result of the compressed filming schedule that accommodated Brian Keith's movie career. Since all the scripts for the entire season had to be written in advance, and Keith filmed all his scenes in just 2 30-day blocks, it made sense to have one director who understood the overall vision for the season and could maintain consistency across all the episodes. Most television shows during this era used multiple directors throughout a season, with different directors bringing their own creative styles and interpretations to individual episodes. This variety could create interesting differences in tone and visual approach from week to week, but it also meant that shows sometimes felt inconsistent or had episodes that seemed to come from completely different series. Family Affair's single director system created a very consistent look and feel throughout each season, since the same person was making all the creative decisions about camera angles, pacing, and how scenes should be staged. This consistency helped establish the show's warm, family-friendly atmosphere and made sure that every episode felt like it belonged to the same series. However, this approach also limited the creative variety that might have come from having different directors contribute their unique perspectives to the show. While the consistency was beneficial for maintaining the show's tone, it meant that Family Affair may have missed opportunities for creative experimentation or different storytelling approaches that other directors might have brought to specific episodes throughout the season. Fact 14. The continuity nightmare. Family Affair's unusual filming schedule created numerous continuity errors that are visible to careful viewers, with scenes in single episodes clearly having been filmed months apart, but edited together to appear as if they happened in a short period of time. The out-of-sequence filming method that accommodated Brian Keith's movie schedule and child labor laws made it nearly impossible to maintain perfect visual consistency throughout individual episodes. The most noticeable continuity problems involved the appearance of the actors themselves, particularly the child stars who were growing and changing throughout the production. Since scenes for any given episode might be filmed during different phases of production that were separated by several months, viewers can sometimes spot dramatic differences in how tall the children appear or how their hair looks from one scene to the next within the same episode. Weather and seasonal changes also created obvious continuity issues when outdoor scenes were involved. A single episode might include scenes that were clearly filmed during different seasons, with some shots showing summer weather and green trees, while other scenes in the same episode showed winter conditions or bare branches. The lighting and overall atmosphere could change dramatically between scenes that were supposed to take place on the same day. The actors' clothing and appearance sometimes changed in ways that didn't make sense for the story being told. Hair lengths might vary noticeably between scenes, or actors might appear to have gained or lost weight during what was supposed to be a single day in the show's timeline. These visual inconsistencies became more obvious as viewers began watching reruns and could study episodes more carefully than during the original broadcast. Despite these technical problems, most viewers were willing to overlook the continuity errors because they were focused on the show's characters and storylines rather than analyzing the production details that revealed how the episodes had actually been assembled. Fact 15. The show sold before filming. Family Affair was sold to CBS before anyone had even filmed a single scene or created a pilot episode, which was an extremely rare occurrence in television production during the 1960s. This unprecedented deal happened entirely because of the incredible trust and confidence that CBS executives had in producer Don Fedderson's proven to create successful family programming that would attract large audiences. Fedderson had already established himself as one of television's most reliable producers through his work on highly successful shows like My Three Sons, which had been running since 1960 and consistently ranked among the top-rated programs on television. He had also produced The Millionaire, another popular series that demonstrated his understanding of what American viewers wanted to watch during prime-time hours. When Fedderson approached CBS with his concept for Family Affair, the network executives were so impressed with his track record that they committed to buying the series based solely on his reputation and the basic premise he presented to them. They didn't require him to film a pilot episode first, which was the standard practice for almost every other television series being developed at that time. This level of trust was practically unheard of in the television industry, where networks typically demanded to see completed pilot episodes before making any commitments to new shows. Most producers had to invest significant time and money creating sample episodes that networks could evaluate before deciding whether to order a full season of episodes. The fact that CBS was willing to skip the pilot process entirely showed just how much faith they had in Fedderson's formula for creating warm, family-oriented comedy that would appeal to viewers across different age groups. Their confidence proved to be well-placed when Family Affair became one of the network's most popular shows and ran successfully for 5 seasons.